Awful tragedy. 16-year-old track star Austin Metcalf, fatally stabbed by rival athlete during championship meet, dies in his own twin brother's arms. 17-year-old charged with first-degree murder. We've got this and so much more on today's episode of Week in Review with Gateway Pundit. What's going on? I'm Mike Mendoza. I'm filling in for Elijah Schaffer while he's out on business this week. I'm also joined by a good friend of mine, producer of the show, Michael Hennessy, otherwise known as Snowflake News. Michael, what's going on? How you doing?
Hey, happy to be here. Very glad we get a third chance to actually run this show while Elijah's on vacation. So just happy to be here. Thank you.
Yep, and we're having fun. It's called we're having a little bit of fun. So, but unfortunately, the first story isn't as fun. Unfortunately, so we're gonna get right into it. But first story, as I mentioned in the outset in the intro, awful tragedy. 16-year-old track star Austin Metcalf, fatally stabbed by rival athlete during championship meet, dies in his own twin brother's arms. 17-year-old charged with first-degree murder. Let's get into it. This is reported on by Jim Hoft, the great Jim Hoft. There he is right there. Very good-looking kid. Apparently, he would volunteer at his local church, top athlete and everything. So, it's sad stuff, but where's the media outrage? 16-year-old track and football star Austin Metcalf was brutally stabbed to death Wednesday morning during a championship track meet at Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to pronounce that. Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas. Metcalf, a junior at Frisco Memorial High School, was attacked in broad daylight at a school-sanctioned event meant to showcase hard work, discipline, and sportsmanship. There's the mugshot of the killer. The suspect, 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony of rival school Frisco Centennial, is now charged with first-degree murder, according to Fox News. This horrifying act of violence occurred around 10 a.m. during the University Interscholastic League's District 11-5A championship meet. Witnesses say the attack was swift and left little time for intervention. According to the press release, on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, at approximately 10 a.m., Frisco Police and Fire responded to an incident at a track meet in the 6900 block of Stadium Lane. An altercation between two students resulted in one stabbing the other. Despite life-saving measures by police and fire personnel, including CPR and the administration of blood, the 16-year-old victim died. The suspect, identified as 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony of Frisco, is in custody, and there is no further threat to the public. He has been charged with murder, a first-degree felony. No bond has been set at this time. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole article because it's kind of just self-explanatory. And, I've been seeing a lot of these takes from conservatives online. And Michael, I would love to hear your opinion on this. But, we hear the same thing every single time. And not just in terms of the types of crimes that are being committed and who they're being committed by. But I always hear the same thing. And we know the answer to this. They say, why is there no media outrage? I'll let you answer that because I feel like it's pretty cut and dry. It's not a secret. We've known this for at least 10 years now. It's been more prominent and more prevalent in the last 4 to 5 years, but it's been going on ever since Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin. So why do you think that there's no rioting in the streets, that there is no Foot Lockers being looted, that there is no banks being burned down or no KFCs burning down? Why do you think that there is no public outrage or no media outcry because of this attack?
Well, unfortunately, first off, my heart goes out to the family and everybody affected in this scenario, especially having him pass away in his brother's arm. So it's just terrible all the way around. But in the same sense, it doesn't fit the narrative for them. Country divided is easily controlled. So what they like to do is they like to create certain scenarios, and if the suspects don't fit what they want the narrative to be, then it just disappears. There's even a joke that says Betty White. Betty's not white once the story goes away. But yeah, it's very unfortunate. Anybody who goes through any kind of tragedy like this, it should be getting the same equal outcry across the media outlets and everywhere else. But unfortunately, it doesn't fit the narrative. And I'm sure a Netflix special will end up coming out, and all the characters will be swapped around. So tragic. I feel bad for the family, as I said, and it's just very unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and we've known this since Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown. Back in those days, I was living in Chicago. I was what Andrew Breitbart kind of referred to as a default liberal. I was in a big city. I was surrounded by a lot of non-white people. I went to art school. So I mean, there weren't a lot of red-blooded Americans who ate red meat and went hunting every weekend around me. So I mean, I just figured, I guess I like Obama. I guess I vote for Democrat, whatever, all this stuff. But I remember around Michael Brown, I started to kind of question things because, listen, I mean, I grew up around all different types of people. I mean, I grew up around a lot of black people, around a lot of Hispanic people. I know how the groups act. And, you know, I mean, to act like these groups don't have certain behaviors is kind of just being intentionally obtuse about the whole situation. I mean, white people act a certain way, Mexicans act a certain way, blacks act a certain way, and they brag about it. Like they like that they're different from the other groups. So, you know, to act like this is something that is surprising, that it's not being covered by the media, you know, we know why. And I think we need to start thinking about what the next step is, because I mean, we can keep playing this game every single time, saying, "Oh, why is the media not talk about?" Well, we know why. So let's try and take more steps and figure out what the next step is going to be, and how we can properly deal with these types of people. Because I think right now, I mean, jail and even the death penalty, I feel like it obviously isn't enough of a deterrence for these people because it's still happening all the time. So I don't want to get too worked up about this. I don't want to say anything that I might regret later or might get Gateway in trouble. But you know, this shouldn't happen to anyone, regardless of the race. But you know, this has been disproportionately happening to white people at the hands of black people for a long time now. And you know, and there are good people that are black who identify the problem. But that's another aspect of the problem, is that a lot of black people don't want to admit that there is a problem in their own community, and we need to figure out why, and we need to talk about it, and we need to have an honest you know, solution about it, and then figure out something that's sympathetic to both sides, something that's not going to, you know, do too much damage, but we need to figure something out. So anyway, with that said, next story. This is, you know, maybe on a bit of a well, I guess I shouldn't say on a lighter note, but you know, this is a little bit more optimistic. But police successfully unravel one of the world's largest pedophile networks, with thousands of suspects already identified. This is being reported on by Ben Q. So Europol has busted a massive international pedophile network based in Germany, the agency announced on Wednesday. According to Europol, authorities successfully raided on an expansive child exploitation network operating across more than 30 countries. The takedown resulted in numerous arrests connected in the distribution of illegal child abuse content. The European Union's law enforcement agency confirmed that the illicit online hub operating on the darknet under the name KidFlix was brought offline through a coordinated investigation led by the Bavarian State Criminal Police Office in Germany. And I think this is a tweet from Europol. KidFlix, one of the largest pedophile platforms in the world, has been shut down in an international operation against child sexual exploitation. Europol has supported authorities from 38 countries worldwide in shutting down the platform. Authorities estimate that the now defunct platform serviced a staggering global user base of approximately 1.8 million individuals. Operation Stream has been the largest operation ever handled by Europol's expert in fighting child sexual exploitation, and one of the biggest cases supported by the law enforcement agency in recent years, the press release states. Investigations have already extended to 35 different countries, and so far, law enforcement has apprehended 79 suspects, with around 1,400 additional individuals under scrutiny, more than 100 of whom are believed to be located within Germany. So, you know, the first thing that jumps out to me about this article is that it's called KidFlix. That's kind of crazy, right? Like, I mean, like, you know, if you've ever been on the dark web before, like been on like the Silk Road or whatever, and you know, even people who are into Pizzagate, they know like about this type of stuff. Like, usually they'll use code words, and I guess that technically KidFlix could be considered like, oh, that might be like programming for kids, but you know, usually certain people would use code words and would try and like get around, but like now there's operating out in the open. But I mean, this is crazy. Like, I mean, I think this might be the biggest bust ever. I've never heard of anything of this scale before. It's just scary that, you know, people can use the internet. And sometimes like you even hear about Facebook, YouTube, and like other mainstream platforms, huge blue chip billion-dollar companies that are hosting content, even porn websites. Pornhub got in trouble for that recently as well. Which, I can understand where like, they're probably leaving the door open to a lot of bad stuff happening when they have user generated content. Like, it's like, yeah, unless you're checking everyone's IDs to make sure that they're of age, then you'll just never know. So this is scary stuff, but I mean, it is good that we actually are like taking some steps to deal with this. But yeah, it does jump out to me that it's just called kid flicks. It's just out in the open. It's I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous. But I think that sometimes their downfall can be just their just thinking they can operate with impunity because they're stretched out across multiple countries, and maybe they think that they're not under a certain jurisdiction. But that's where Europol and Interpol come into play. So hopefully we'll catch more people like that soon. But that's great news. Obviously the first story, I guess, was kind of a little more of a downer, but we do have some people working overtime to bring people like this to justice, which is good. So anyway, I want to get into the next thing, but before we do that, recently the world's smartest investors aren't just buying oil stocks; they're collecting what's called mailbox money from oil royalties instead. I'm talking about passive income that shows up month after month, starting with as little as $25. And if you visit Elijah Oil right now, ElijahOil.com, to discover how to tap into monthly royalty checks, you can get these checks from one of America's most productive oil basins. So, some people invest in gold, some people invest in crypto, some people invest in the S&P 500. Right now, the stock market's not doing great. I think like 200 billion got wiped out in equity from the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. I think it was the S&P 500. So if you want something that's a little bit more tangible, it's oil, so it's like, not anything that's going away anytime soon. I know that Elon's trying to do that with the EVs and everything, but still oil is used for so many different things, and also to even power some of those chargers at the very beginning of the life cycle of the energy. It starts with oil or coal or something. There's still not a lot of nuclear energy in America, so if you want to get in on that early and then figure out how to make some money, as you said, mailbox money earlier, stuff that just comes in passively. You don't have to work for it. Go to ElijahOil.com and then start a brokerage account. That's all you have to do. Just start a brokerage account. They'll explain everything to you there, and it's at no cost to you either. That's the best part about it. Just sign up, start the account, and then they'll kind of walk you through the whole process. And then you don't have to be a crazy oil baron. You don't have to be born into the Rockefeller family just to get the benefits of this. I mean, anyone can invest in it. So go to ElijahOil.com. Links on the screen and in the description. It's kind of hard to point at the link. Elijah does it all the time. And also, if I'm pointing here, it's like it goes behind the laptop. So like I have to do this. But ElijahOil.com, check it out. I think it's worth your while, and it's at no cost to you guys. It'll make things a lot easier. So anyway, on to the next story. 3 GOP states find 300,000 bad voter registrations, along with hundreds of non-citizens registered to vote. This is from Brian Chai of the Western Journal. We talked about something similar, was it yesterday or the day before, with the Wisconsin thing? So let's get into it. Voting is one of the bedrocks that the United States of America was obviously built on. It's of the utmost importance to the very structure of America that voting will forever remain a sacred and protected right. Since we can all agree on that, why in the world is it so hard why in the world is it so hard for the country's leaders to implement actual voting security measures? Well, we know why, but I digress. The latest example that America's voting systems are deeply problematic, actually, and scarily, emanates from a pair of reliably Republican states. In the span of less than a week in mid-March, the Republican-leaning Iowa and the deeper red Idaho and Missouri found catastrophic issues with their respective voter rolls. On March 14th, Missouri Secretary of State Denny Hoskins released a statement saying they found and subsequently removed 18,637 voters who are deceased. Not even just like they moved states or anything, but they're just completely just not even with us anymore. Just News added, however, that Missouri has also since removed a number of other problematic voter registrations, including 133,520 inactive voters and another 4,000 plus voters who had either moved or were disqualified due to a felony, for example. Then on March 19th, Idaho Secretary of State Phil McGrain announced that his administration had cleared out a whopping 144,121 voter records statewide due to inactivity, change of address, or ineligibility. Just a day after that, Iowa Secretary of State Paul D. Pate, I don't know how to say it, announced that his team had uncovered and removed another 277 confirmed non-citizens who have voted or are registered to are registered to vote. Added up, and you're looking at close to 300,000 problematic voter registrations being uncovered in a matter of 6 days. I think that's the most impressive part about this, that in less than a week they found all this that was going on. And we talked about this with the Wisconsin thing the other day, but this is another one of these things where it's like we know why they're doing it, and we kind of like play coy and we play dumb, and we're like, oh, why are they doing this? Wow, like big shock, whatever. But it's like I feel like people just like don't ever think about the next steps. They don't actually want to solve the problem, and I think that partially the problem is the media establishment, because it serves us well to report on this because we can drum up people to get outraged about it, and then that gets clicks, that gets views or whatever, but no one actually thinks about solving the problem because it doesn't actually serve some people's interest to actually solve the problem, especially Democrats, because Democrats want these inactive or deceased voters on the rolls so they can farm the ballots, I guess, allegedly. That's what some people have alleged, even though some people have had to walk back those accusations. I'm not sure what the truth is, but I mean, to me, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, there were so many things with the 2020 election that I think personally were weird, at the very least. I mean, maybe it wasn't just outright fraud, but I mean, a lot of rules were stretched. A lot of things were, bent to their will so they could make it look as positive for them as possible. So I don't know what the truth is, but I do think that it's good that we have at least people looking into it and trying to clean up the situation. I mean, I feel like every state, at least every major election cycle, should go through this. Should like go through, okay, who died, who moved, who got a felony. I mean, it just seems like normal housekeeping. I mean, I reload and unload my dishwasher every single day because I need to. Because if not, I don't have plates and bowls and glasses in my cupboards. And like we're talking about voting in people who make the laws and protect the people, or supposedly that's what their job is supposed to be. But we can't even change clean up the voter rolls and make sure that our electoral system is tidy and well kept. We can't even do that. But I digress, as the author of the article did earlier. So anyway, on to the next article. Michelle Obama takes another jab at Barack Obama amid divorce rumors. That's kind of interesting. I'll bring up the video real quick, but it's never a good look when your wife, especially when you're this caliber of celebrity, like you're a global celebrity. Yeah, your wife shouldn't be taking jabs at you. It's never a good look. So let's just see what she had to say here. Let me pull the video real quick. This seems to be a long video. Did you pull it up to the timestamp?
It should be right at the timestamp.
Okay, good. Okay, just making sure. I just saw there was a long video. So let's see what she had to say. Watch.
I'm glad you're here.
I am glad to be here. And our listeners should know that you have your oldest nephew got married this summer.
I'm just so happy for Avery.
It was
Avery
really
and
neat.
Emily. So
another Mrs. Robinson.
Another Mrs. Robinson. Yeah, that's strange.
It is.
How does it feel having your first child married?
I will tell you that Kelly and I were so focused on the wedding because we didn't hear anything about what was going on. Mm-hmm. So we thought it was going to be a disaster, of course.
No faith.
No faith in your own kids who you've raised to be well. And when we showed up and everything was so well done and so tastefully done, and so many of the little things like the name tags and the menus were all done by hand by Emily and Avery.
Wow.
And it was such a wonderful and beautiful ceremony. I left there feeling proud.
Yeah. Well, you did a good job, dude.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, way to go.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Well, speaking of jobs, we have a great question today.
We do. We do. Good segue. Way to go.
Yeah, thanks. I'm working hard to be like our first guest, Jay Shetty. I'm trying to be Jay.
Okay.
All right, yeah, we're not going to watch this whole thing actually because I actually didn't pick up. Let me just read from the story just directly. It'd be easier that way. And again, the story is by Christina Lila, so thank you for bringing this up. But It says that Michelle Obama launched a new podcast with her brother, Craig Robinson, and it's a total flop. The new venture, the IMO podcast, was launched by Higher Ground, the Obama's media company, which is interesting too, because when a disaster is going on, what do? You get to higher ground. When you're in a war, what do? You get to higher ground. And they also produced that one movie, Leave the World Behind, where everything was just like, there was like an EMP attack and it was like an apocalyptic scenario. So it's kind of interesting that they named it Higher Ground. But let me skip down a little quick. But Michelle Obama took another jab at Barack Obama amid divorce rumors, saying, would you be attracted to a guy who is not financially sound when you meet him? Craig Robinson asked Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama insulted Barack Obama. I married one. Michelle Obama said, don't you like that alley-oop I just threw you in basketball? You just point. You don't even have to say it, Craig Robinson said. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess it kind of is an insult. I don't think it's like it's necessarily, it's like mean-spirited. I think that like couples kind of talk like that about each other. Not all the time. But, would Melania ever say that about Trump? I mean, well, I guess she couldn't. She couldn't even joke about that because Trump has been rich his entire life. But I mean, what, like, just in terms of their like power dynamics in their relationship, would you imagine Melania ever saying that? Probably not. Now, what does that mean about their relationship? I don't know. I think people are kind of reaching when it comes to the Obama thing. I think they've done, and like, with the interpersonal drama, like it's fun to talk about, but is it really productive? Like, Obama like was drone striking Americans in other countries when he was in office. He was kind of like the puppeteer behind Biden and all of his bad policies. I think he's done a lot worse than getting insulted by Michelle Obama on a podcast that is supposedly flopping. So, I'm guessing that's not doing very well, and not a lot of people. This is one thing about with like conservative media too, is like, we'll always say, oh, this movie's doing bad, or this show is doing bad, or this podcast is flopping, but we're the ones who are giving it all the attention. So, I think it is newsworthy, because like it just like kind of shows like the dysfunction in the Democrat Party. I know that sounds like a bit of a stretch, but what do they say? Like, don't try and fix other people's lives or whatever if you don't have your own house in order. And whether you're single or you're married or whatever, the fact that there's even divorce rumors swirling, and then Michelle's kind of taking jabs or whatever, whether you think it's like completely mean-spirited or not, that's kind of besides the point. I think it's just interesting. I don't know, Mike. Would your girlfriend ever joke on a podcast about you being broke?
No, I don't think she would. I can understand. I don't think it's like the biggest insult in the world. I think the insult is that they actually think that we like this podcast and they're putting it out in the air. It's doing about as well as a chef going swimming on their property. But yeah, no, to me, it's nothing crazy. I know there was rumors Obama's was with Jennifer Aniston, and there was all these other type of things going on. But I don't think it's the craziest thing. Yeah, it's not nice to poke jabs at each other. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to build up as a relationship, help carry each other, especially in the public eye, how high up they are. So hopefully I don't have to see that podcast again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, as long as you're in conservative media, you'll probably be seeing it a lot more often, just unfortunately. But anyway, I want to talk to you guys. Speaking of, men who are weak, we're witnessing a generational decline in men's testosterone levels due to lifestyle choices, diet, exposure to environmental toxins, microplastics, stuff they're putting in the water, turning the frogs gay and whatnot. And this decline can resist in persistent fatigue, diminished strength, reduced libido, mood swings, and just an overall loss of vitality, which is keeping you from feeling like your best self. But with this little bottle right here, you can take control of that today with Man's Edge from Nutronics Labs, which is a natural solution to support healthy testosterone levels. Man's Edge is more than just a standard booster. It's not just like some supplement that you take every single day and then you don't really feel any like difference. But it actually combines very powerful, supplements I've taken in the past. NO2, that's normally in pre-workout, IGF-1, fenugreek, and even fenugreek increases just by itself. It increases testosterone levels by up to 46% in clinical studies. And unlike other traditional powders and pills, this offers up to 98% absorption, which is crazy. Like most stuff, once you get supplements like from stores, it's filled with all this other kind of like filler Like usually like they'll use rice and other things to just kind of like fill the capsules. Like it's actually not like all it's cracked up to be, which is why you need to make sure that you're getting it from the right place. But Frank Stallone takes this. So, you know, there's a lot of people who swear by it. Even some people in the office, some friends of the show have been taking it too. So if you sign up for the Autoship program today, you save 50% on all your orders, which I mean, no one else is offering that. Go to Vitamin Shop, go to any other supplement store by you. No one's offering half off to Autoship. And I mean, if you're taking it every day anyway, then you might as well get Autoship, and then you're getting half off. And it's just, it's a great budget deal. So if you go down below to tboostnow.com, tboostnow.com/ or just tboostnow.com, and then use promo code Elijah, then you can buy one, get one free, and you can save an additional 10% on your first order. So check it out today, tboostnow.com, promo code Elijah, buy one, get one free, and also the extra 10% off on your order. And, you know, I said I was going to keep the show to under 25 minutes today. We're at 26 minutes. I'm going to go through the story real quick. If we get to 28 minutes, it's not the end of the world. I know you guys like watching me anyway, so I'm going to, you know, give you guys the opportunity to do so. Breaking, Senate votes to sabotage President Trump's Canadian tariff policy, with 4 Republicans casting the decisive yes votes, Cullen Linebarger reports. A handful of Senate Republicans joined Democrats to vote this evening on legislation rescinding tariffs on Canadian goods, a startling rebuke of President Trump. The final vote was 51-48. Here are the 4 Republicans who handed the Democrats an undeserved victory and snubbed the president. So Susan Collins of Maine, Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, no surprise there, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and then Rand Paul of Kentucky. So it's a mix of some people that we like, some people we don't. As Fox News previously reported, leftist Senator Tim Kaine sponsored a joint resolution that would terminate the national emergency Trump declared regarding illicit drugs in Canada. Trump has argued that tariffs are necessary to curb the drug flow and rebalance the unfair trading relationship between the two countries. So I'll leave it there. Because I'm not super well versed in tariffs. I know that's surprising to you guys. I'm not like a super economist or anything. I will say that I like that he has the 10% tariffs across the board, because, you know, one thing that's not very advantageous to America is when we're kind of shooting from the hip when it comes to tariffs. I think countries should actually have, like, especially because we do so much business with, I mean, like, for example, I saw Vietnam, I think, had like a 47% tariff rate or something. And like, speaking of which, I'm not a big gamer when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, but the Nintendo Switch got announced, which is a massive console. There's a lot of people who play Switches, or they have it like for their kids. It's supposed to be coming out this year. It's a big announcement, and guess where it's being produced? It's being produced in Vietnam, so that changes a lot of things. Also, people who do e-commerce, people who do drop shipping, a lot of their stuff is made overseas. I guess the idea is to like try and like bring manufacturing to America, but do you really want Americans making widgets? Maybe. I mean, that'll give people jobs, but it's like we should be focusing on the higher. Like, I mean, right now there's this race with AI. I don't know what that's going to result in necessarily, but I mean, I do like the tariffs 10% across the board, because it's predictable, and then other countries can kind of respond in kind, and they can kind of figure out what they're going to do. If we're just shooting from the hip, it just gives way too much reason for the market to be more volatile, and that's what we don't need right now, is more volatility. Unless Trump is playing the long game. Again, I'm not an economist. I don't know much about tariffs, honestly. If you guys have an opinion on it, and you guys know more than I do, then go down in the comments below and tell me about it, because I'm actually genuinely curious to know. I don't know much about tariffs, let's be honest with you. I read a couple books back in the day, but nothing that really stuck with me. Now I'm just a podcast producer. So ironically, I don't even have much time to talk about this or to read about this stuff anymore, because I'm always getting ready for the next podcast. But anyway, thanks for joining us again. You can go to gatewaypundit.com, join the mug club. Like I said, this is a great mug. It's very heavy, very weighty. The Gateway logo is embossed on there, right there, and on this side. So if you throw it in the dishwasher, it's not going to chip off. It's not going to break or anything. Like, this thing is heavy. This thing is, if I chucked this at Michael Hensey's head right now, he would get knocked out. Well, I mean, he used to be a fighter, so actually no, he probably has a pretty strong chin. He probably just like Thanos, just like bounce right off or something. But anyway, join the mug club. That's how you can support us. And thanks again for letting me be guest host, Michael Hennessy. You can follow him at Snowflake News on Instagram or Twitter. Want to give him your tags?
Yeah. You can follow me on Snowflake_news. I'm on X. I'm also on Instagram as well. So I'd love to come have you check out the page. It's just breaking news, same as Gateway Pundit. Obviously not at their level or their expertise, but it's a great way to see what's going on. And love to have you check it out.
All right. And then you can follow me at Mike Mendoza JPG on Twitter. I don't tweet very much, but maybe once I get like over 5 or 10,000 followers, then I'll start tweeting again. I've had my Twitter since 2009. So my algorithm is all over the place because I've gone from, I used to run a hip hop blog back in the day. It's gone from like following music to being dormant. And I'm also a big basketball fan, so I follow basketball stuff, but I'm also a big political far right guy. So I follow like a lot of those creators. And then now I'm more active in it. Now I have big people following me, but I don't really tweet. Like it's like Twitter does not know what to make of me at all. But maybe once I get 5,000, 10,000 followers, I'll start tweeting. It's just like once I tweet right now, I literally get less than like 100 impressions. It's crazy. And I have like 3,200 followers, so it's not nothing, but I get like less than 100 impressions. It's really bad because my algorithm is just so weird because my page was dormant for so long. But anyway, you can follow me there. Or if you just want to reach out and say, hey, appreciate the show, then I would appreciate that too. But Mike Mendoza JPG on Twitter, you can follow me there. And as Elijah says, God bless America, and we'll see you in the next one.